us to live, work, and play on these lands and for their stewardship of these lands over time. Trustees, could I ask for a motion to approve our agenda this evening as presented? Mover, please.
With the trustee item attached, right?
One trustee item attached from Elena, sorry. Thank you, Trustee Kellogg. Seconded, please. Trustee Young. All in favor? Carried. Oh, Mr. Kurland, you have a comment? Or you're voting?
That's my hand up.
Okay. Perfect. And for your consent agenda this evening, you have a couple of items, which are regular items of approval of minutes. And Trustee Kellogg did a wonderful summary of our meeting with our MLAs. As you know, we have a bit of an odd district in that we have the new configuration of Oceanside with MLA Stephanie Higginson, and a little bit of Bowser comes up from the Port Alberni Ucluelet end. So we are also fortunate enough to have the Minister of Health, Josie Osborne, as the other representative to the Ledge for our school district. And we had a lovely meeting with them, and I encourage folks to have a read of that. Also, the BC Public School Employers Association report by Trustee Young is a valuable read for folks to take a look at as we are moving into a year of bargaining with both our support staff and teachers unions. So it will be a large agenda item as time goes forward, we hope. And on our agenda on maybe a regular basis. So could I ask a mover and a seconder, please, of trustees to approve the consent agenda as presented? Thank you, Trustee Young. Seconded, Trustee Kellogg. All those in favor? Carried. And it's with great pleasure that we move to our delegation for this evening. The Qualicum Secondary School Student Council Climate Action Symposium. And I'm sure we have some students, and I see their teacher leader, Mr. Ben Leggett, in attendance. And this is now the third annual symposium. And congratulations to all the students and keeping this going and challenging all of us in our thinking on climate action. So Mr. Leggett, please take it away and have your students share with us what this year's going to look like.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us. I have Eva and Riley here today, and I believe Eva's going to be the one leading the presentation, but we do want to offer invitation for all of you to come out. It's going to be on April 25th, and it's Earth Week, not on Earth Day. That's a Friday. It's going from 9 a.m. until about 2 p.m. So please come by, see what's going on, and you'll get a little bit more here from Eva. So thanks, Eva.
Over to you, Eva.
Thank you, Mr. Leggett. Yes, hi, my name's Eva Simpson. I'm a grade 10 student at KSS Student Council. I'm here to share a presentation that our two presidents, Lyra Sales and Dakaya Hops, made for us to present to you today. So if I could just find a way to share my screen with the presentation. Let me, 1 second. There we go.
Huh.
Here we go.
There we go. Good. Yep. Well done.
Way to go.
Way ahead of us. 2025
Okay, so yes.
Mid-Island. Awesome.
Yes. 1 second. It's not popping up on my screen. There we go.
There it is.
Here's our presentation for the 2025 Mid-Island Youth Climate Action Symposium hosted by KSS Student Council. So a little bit about our event. Our goal of this event is to educate students about the climate crisis and inspire them to make a change in their community, as well as doing little things and just enforcing the stuff that we hear day to day from things like keynote speakers, breakout groups, discussion questions, and educational activities. As we go through the presentation, I'll elaborate more on what this means for us and who we have actually coming to the symposium this year to talk about climate action. So over 10 schools from around the island come and support our event usually, and usually there's about 200 students in attendance. So usually we collaborate with the Bolinas Interact Club, and they bring some fun activities and they give us a helping hand for the day of the event. And now I'd like to announce our 2025 speakers. So this year we have Jared. He is an Indigenous chief and culture educator. He's a Hulkamanum speaker and consultant who works with many ministries, institutions, schools, and communities. He has won several Canadian online publishing awards. He gave a TEDx speech talk on the power of Indigenous foods and was nominated for a 2022 BC Multiculturalism and Anti-Racism Award. Next, we have returning to our symposium with Echo Alec. Echo is an award-winning artist, founder, and CEO raised with the, I'm going to mispronounce this, I'm so sorry, Shishala Nation. And she currently is living on the Qualicum Nation lands on Vancouver Island. Echo is a modern-day shapeshifter through digital arts, storytelling, through movement, and a medicine woman of many mediums. She is on a mission to support all people and the planet return to natural rhythm of well-being. Next, we have Savannah Sorbe. She's an expeditioner, historian, guide, citizen scientist, and fellow of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society. She has a passion for exploration, adventure, and discovery. She is a member of the Royal Canadian Geographic Society, the Royal Canadian Geographic Society UK, a BC and Yukon chair member of the Explorer Club, and a flag carrier for the Wings World Quest. And then this is very exciting to us because Tegan Welsh is a grade 12 student at KSS and is also a senior member of our student council. She is involved with climate action through Fridays for Future movement, which was started with Greta Thunberg many years ago, and Tegan took it on and has started one here in our own town, Qualicum Beach, for the past few years now. She's developed a passion for using empathetic communication techniques to bridge divides in the community. Tegan hopes that through her workshop, she can help individuals start productive conversations about climate change. So, and then next we have our activities for this year. So usually when you come to the symposium, there's more than just sitting there and watching speakers. We have a whole bunch of fun activities, and this year we're adding in some new ones. So I'd like to start with our clothing swap and fashion booth. Now, we took the inspiration for this new booth that we're trying from a thrift shop that we started at our school. And what our thrift shop does, we host it biannually. So we did it in December of last semester, and we're doing it in May again this year. What we did was we collected donations from students, teachers, and parents. And by the end, we had piles of donations, as you can see on these tables. There was way more where that came from. And we set it up in the MPR, and it was a big hit. It cost us nothing to run, and we made a big profit for our fund for the Mid-Island Youth Climate Action Symposium. Next, we have our mural painting, which we started last year, and we made a big mural that is now posted up on the top of our ramp in the second building with the MyCast 2024 on it. And we created an earth picture with everybody's handprints. And this year we're hoping to do something similar, and the design will be created by some of our own. Next, we have the garbage sort game. it sounds kind of funny when you look at it, but the Valinas Interact Club brought it in for us last year, and it was a big hit. So what it is, you just learn what goes where in the recycling, garbage, or compost, and you throw it and try to get it in and see how much recycling and how you can sort it in a time period. And then for our next slide, we have continued with our activities. So we have always shown our art at the symposium done by our art classes and students at our school. And this year, we're also widening this idea. So we've decided to create it as a competition to showcase our music students, art students, and some of the writers at our school. So we're doing a competition that will start late March, just before the spring break, and will be open for a month for students to submit art. And we will showcase all the visual art at our symposium, and the top poetry, which is the writing segment, the top poetry submissions will be shown with the art at our symposium or have the option to be read aloud. And then the songs that are student written, the winners will have their option to perform it or show a video. So we're hoping that this goes really well and it will widen the ways that you can learn about climate action. Next, we have our pledge board, which has been collecting ideas about climate change and how you can help it. Last year, we didn't get the chance to read them aloud at the end of our symposium, but usually during our question and answer period, we will read out some of these pledge board items and it just all share some of our own ideas about climate action. And this ties into our booths and info tables, which there's going to be many this year. We have science classes working on articles about climate action and current events in climate action and what's happening in the world to do with climate change. So it's going to be a very fun symposium this year and very informative. Next, we just want to thank you for your support. Oh, there we go. We want to thank you for your support because we couldn't put on this symposium without the support from the school board, our admin, and our attendees. It's been really fun to put on, and we just hope we can put it on for many years in the future. For any more information, please contact our email address, kssstudentcouncil@outlook.com. And for more information, you can also contact Mr. Benjamin Leggett at his email. So thank you so much for allowing us to do this presentation.
Well done, Eva. Excellent. It's so exciting to see year 3. Yahoo! Bigger and better. Bigger and better. Yes. Trustee Kellogg has a question, and then I'll go to Trustee Young.
I don't really have a question. I have more of a comment because I've been able to go the last 2 years and I will be attending this year. I think they're amazing. I've loved the artwork. I've learned things in those breakout groups that I didn't know. And Eva, I'm still trying to get the blue paint off my hand from last year. Anyways, you guys do a great job and I really look forward to coming and seeing it again this year.
Thank you so much.
Are you going to be at the Civic Center again?
Yes.
I'm thinking you have to use the Civic Center. Yeah. Okay. Trustee Young and then Trustee Austin.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to attend. It's during the trustees AGM in Vancouver, so sadly I can't attend this year. Yeah, it is.
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I do believe so. Anyway, I liaise to Qualicum Secondary School, and so I was wandering around last week, and I think I saw the end part of your clothing piece. But the other thing I've been wondering about is the Fridays for the Future, because I'm over there on a Friday, and I haven't been able to hook up with your Friday person, and I keep going to Bailey's and hoping to find her, but I am unable to find her. So if you could let me know about that, I would appreciate it. And thank you very, very much for this. And thank you for coming. I always love when we can have students do presentations either here or at the Education Committee or at any of our committees. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh dear, Eva. Yes, we are in Vancouver. Oh no. Oh, Trustee Austin.
Yes, I want to echo those thanks. Eva, that was a wonderful presentation. And yes, I've been to the last couple of symposiums. They really are beginning to take on a little bit of life of their own. And it's so nice to see that it's anticipated to be an annual event and ongoing. It looks like the activities are going to be great. And I am so glad to see the art, the music, the poetry there, because it is so often one of the best ways to communicate with people, is to reach them at that emotional level or entertainment level that you get through the arts. So it's so great to see that there. Thanks.
Yeah, really nice addition. Mr. Terpstra, Director of Instruction, Mr. Terpstra.
Hi, Eva and Mr. Leggett. Thanks so much for your presentation. Just a quick question, because when you presented last year at the Island Trustees Association meetings, Campbell River was, how come we didn't get invited? Have we invited the Campbell River School District?
I'm unsure about what school district.
And if not, I can connect to you. Yeah, let's make sure we invite them. They'd love to come.
No.
Okay.
That'd be awesome if you could get us a contact info for that, Rudy.
Yeah. Trustee Kellogg.
I just wanted to say, Eva, I'm also in Vancouver that day, so I'm really disappointed, but the next year I will be there for sure with bells on.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, congratulations. It is wonderful to see the energy you guys put into this, and then in year 3, that's just awesome for sure. So thank you for joining us this evening and sharing with us your presentation, and Mr. Leggett as well for managing all that energy that I'm sure you find every day when the working group and committee come together to create this agenda, because that's a stunning agenda of speakers for sure. So thanks very much for coming tonight. I know you'd be in all of rapture and everything else to stay, but if you choose to go. Oh, Barry, Mr. Kurland, where are you? I can't see you. Trustee Kurland, you have a
I'm
comment.
hiding. I'm not going to Vancouver, so I'll be the board representative. I can
Thank
hardly
you.
wait. It'll be nice to be there and see my old stomping grounds.
Yes.
Great. You're
Yeah,
on.
I'll be
You're
there.
on. Super. Thanks, you guys, very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
And maybe you'll share your PowerPoint with Karen Herc, our secretary, and she can maybe put it up on the website for us, so that we can start spreading the word as well.
Perfect.
No public questions coming forward. No business arising from the minutes. I did see Mount Ara Smith Teachers Association President Matt Wood join us, but I can't see him on my screen at this point. So, Mr. Wood, your comments.
I'm here. I came back. I popped on.
You went away and came back. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Good evening. Hi, Wanath, and bonsoir. Just a couple things tonight I'll speak to. First, I want to acknowledge that both the board and MATA have completed our round of local bargaining and have sent off our completed article package to our respective organizations. I will say that this round of bargaining was a tough round of bargaining as compared to past rounds of bargaining that I have been involved with. However, the bargaining meetings did provide an opportunity for both sides to bring forward concerns and set time aside for bargaining. The time that was set aside for bargaining enabled good discussions. We both are looking forward to receiving so far our finalized CA from our last round of bargaining, which will hopefully come within the next couple of weeks. And with this new collective agreement, we would hope the turnaround will be a bit quicker. And the second thing I'll speak to tonight is, since it is budget season, I felt I should take the time to state something that I've stated in previous meetings, and I've stated in other locations. And so I'm going to speak about the underfunding of public education. Despite the government, and I'm talking all political stripes, they often state that they spend the most that they've ever spent on public education. However, if you compare the amount of money spent as a portion of BC's gross domestic product, the GDP, over the last 20 to 30 years, we have actually seen a decrease in spending by about half. And what that means is that we as the public in the ministry used to spend about 4% of GDP, and now we are spending about 2% of our GDP. That's a significant decrease. The question I have, and I haven't found this answer yet, is I am curious about the amount of an increase or decrease as percentage of GDP, that money and subsidies that have gone toward private institutions. So I haven't been able to get that information, but I am curious about that. So thinking about our current budget, excuse me, what concerns me the most is how losing a few students, especially high need students, and how that greatly impacts the operational side of our school district. We are beginning to feel those effects currently, and which is why we'll be seeing an amended budget tonight. Unfortunately, when it comes to cutting items in a budget that is already not very flexible, the board is left with very few and unfortunately difficult choices. I'm not here to criticize these choices, but I do feel it's my responsibility to address possible consequences. So I want to acknowledge that I believe that our current board and past boards have made choices whereby they try to lessen the impact of any cuts on the delivery of services to students. Matt appreciates that. In fact, often this board has chosen to exceed the minimums regarding student and specialty teacher ratios. Again, much appreciated. There is in the amended budget tonight, this amended budget that's being presented tonight is really no different. However, I wanted to note that under the services and supplies, there is a number that is $200,000 less in this amended budget than it was in the original budget, and that was under for supplies. I don't have the details of what that supply is, but I am presuming it's supplies to support learning initiatives within the district. So that is a significant amount of money, especially when supplies and having access to supplies are essential in ensuring teachers are able to create the UDL learning environments that they are expected to. It may seem that, sorry, I lost my spot here. I can't speak to the details of that reduction, but we'll point out that cuts to supplies and services, although they might seem like the least impactful, can almost have the greatest impact. Teachers used to be given classroom budgets that were funded by the district. Now, I am being told many of those classroom budgets are provided by school PACs. And with that, they do vary from size from site to site. I can actually remember and recall one year when I was in the classroom where the funds that PAC supplied to support programs and operational priorities in the school was actually more than what the district provided to our school. In many instances, programs may not run unless PAC money is available to use. Obviously, I think this is unacceptable, and I feel our ministry and more public funds need to be put forward to public education. So what am I getting at? Budgets need to continue to prioritize services and supplies that closely support students. Those services and supplies that support students at the ground level. They support students that are in classrooms at schools and the programs that support all learners. The leasing of buildings and any funds that are diverted to those buildings should be closely scrutinized along with those costs. Also, finding savings by reviewing administrative positions to ensure that each is necessary for our district should be a priority as well. Austerity is not easy, but should reflect across all aspects of the district. Thank you, merci, and Hipsekwa.
Thanks, Mr. Wood. Appreciate your words. Now on to QP Local 3570, Mr. Rycroft.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ewan Rycroft, QP 3570 President. I'm excited to share some important updates as we prepare for our for our Professional Development Day on March 7th this year is especially significant for us as it marks a bargaining year. Our commitment to improve our workplace is stronger than ever and are dedicated to maintaining open and effective communications with our school board leaders. I want to bring to your attention a current development involving the Qualicum Commons. We understand that the board is in consultation with the town of Qualicum Beach regarding a potential lease of the Commons. It is our understanding that the town is diligently assessing the capital needs of the building and evaluating the potential revenue from its current tenants. This process is crucial during and determining the future of anticipating of keeping this building open for the foreseeable future. As a union, we sincerely hope that the board will prioritize our requests in maintaining our building and work with us on a rental plan that allows our dedicated workers to continue their roles at the Qualicum Commons. The closure could have significant consequences, including layoffs of custodian, a reduction of workload in the maintenance staff, and potential cuts to clerical hours. Let's continue to work together and ensure our voices are heard and that we can create a positive future for our workplace and in our community. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Rycroft. We received regrets from the District Parent Advisory Council President, Mr. Ray Warniak, but I'd like to acknowledge that the board will be providing a response to DPAC regarding comments that the DPAC have made at their last meeting as well as our last board meeting, so that will be forthcoming in the near future. No action items at this point, so I'll turn to our superintendent, Dr. Jory, to prepare and give us our superintendent's report for this evening. Dr. Jory.
Thank you, Chair Flynn. Hello, bonjour, squale, CMCAA. Good evening, everyone. February is almost done, and with it, our last taste of island winter that even led to a snow day three weeks ago today. Temperatures are on the rise again, and spring is just around the corner. We look forward to getting outside more often and shaking off this nasty flu, which has been going around and keeping adults and kids at home for a week at a time. I gave some sunny news on attendance last month, and I may have to take it all back given recent events. If I was a superstitious person, I'd be wondering if I jinxed it all. I'm not, but you might wonder. The Later Start conversation continues. I've taken the survey data collected from parents and caregivers at Nanoose Bay, Arrington Elementary Schools, Bolinas and Qualicum Secondary Schools, sorted it by school, then by preference, and placed it in the board's Teams folder under Later Start Conversation 2025 for the board to review. As well, the two high schools have been in discussion with their student voice groups, and I've provided a summary of those thoughts as well. The Transportation Department has been working away on scenarios, and we'll be able to confirm a potential busing schedule soon, but early signs are quite promising. We can touch on this in our upcoming Thursday conversation, then bring it back to the public board table in March, where I would be happy to speak to whatever details are of interest to the board. For those of you that are tracking this conversation, the parent and caregiver surveys were pretty evenly split between the no's and the yeses or maybes. Those against change spoke mostly to current routines, commuting pressures, and after-school activities. Those in favor of change spoke mostly to the challenges of early mornings, bus pickup in the dark, more time for breakfast, and the need for even just a little more sleep. At elementary, the proposal will likely remain a 20-minute later start in the morning at those two schools only, Nanoose and Arrington, then 20 minutes later dismissal. Conversations with secondary students led to a modified proposal that would mean a 20-minute later start in the morning at the two high schools, a 10-minute shorter lunch, down from the more than 50 minutes they currently have, and then an end time that would just be 10 minutes later instead of 20. More to follow on this, including upcoming conversations around busing fees, a transportation handbook. Yes, we do like handbooks, and the formation of a transportation committee. Check your Teams folder board for that survey data. The no responses are, of course, at the top. I will keep it short tonight, save something for the March meeting. My colleagues will provide some educational updates as they always do. Again, thank you to all of you out there for doing what you do, whether you clear snow, fix leaks, remove tripping hazards, answer the phones, keep the tech functioning, or teach, mentor, support students in any way. Your efforts are appreciated. Thank you. Merci. Isepqua.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jory. Are there any questions, trustees? We have a little bit of homework by the sounds of it to jump in to see the survey results for the schools. Prior to which is a very short turnaround time, our next board meeting in March before spring break. Seeing no hands, I'll call then upon our educational programs updates and the team of Associate Superintendent Ms. Wilson and Director of Instruction Mr. Terpstra. Who's going to go first this week?
I can go. I'm short as well, and I am speaking to the calendar later on in the agenda. Just a couple things to share with the board this evening. One is we're really excited that our pre-K program application has started. It went out last week. We had a great response to start. It closes next Thursday, and it will start at the end of April, and that's a pre-transition kindergarten program for students that are registered to attend kindergarten in September, and it's a homegrown program, and we've got nothing but positive responses, both from students, parents, teachers, and our community. I was at a community meeting the other day, and they were talking about what a great program it is. Sources were there and their early intervention team, and they talk about how much it supports students understanding where they're going to be going to and what this word school means. And they get to visit it, and then over the summer, that front loading that parents and caregivers give. I'm surprised our Mount Tara's president didn't talk about the upcoming Professional Development Day. Maybe I'll not to take his thunder away from our March meeting, but it looks really exciting, and that's next Friday. You'll hear in our calendar conversation around one of the feedbacks from the survey was parents are really curious around what teachers do on professional development days and what that learning is. So strongly encourage our principals and vice principals to make sure we are including what our teachers are doing to parents in their newsletters that will be coming out after the professional learning day. The other thing that we've embarked on for the month of February is our school reviews. It's probably one of my more favorite times of year. It's really, really busy, but it's an amazing opportunity to sit down with our school principals and vice principals and talk about the learners at their school, both the tall and the students, in terms of what learning our teachers are using and doing to be able to support the learners in front of their classroom and to support the learners in the classroom. The school review come from what are called our classroom reviews. And so the district principal for learning, which is Jennifer, assumed that responsibility in January. We meet with each team in February and review students who need supplemental supports, how they progress this year, and what are we looking at in terms of supports for next year. So really long conversations, rich conversations. Each school's probably a good 2 hours talking about how students have progressed this year and then what plans are for next year. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Any questions of Ms. Wilson? Ms. Austin. Trustee Austin.
Jill, thanks. And my apologies, I may have missed it. Is there a waiting list for the pre-kindergarten program anywhere?
Don't know that answer yet. We're currently taking applications, and when Principal Morrison and Sheila Morrison and I looked on Friday, they were trickling in, so we'll wait and see.
Okay, sorry.
Closes next Thursday. This Thursday.
Next
Or
Thursday,
next
actually.
Thursday.
Yeah, next Thursday.
Okay. March 6th. Ish. Director of Instruction, Mr. Terpstra.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm going to share screen and present once again, for those that were at Ed Committee, the district assessment report and some other great learning opportunities that are going on in the district. You can see that, yes?
Yep.
Excellent. I'm just gonna switch to slideshow mode. There we go. All right, so the Qualicum School District Assessment Report for 24-25. Just to remind everybody, these are all the assessments we do district-wide through our assessment plan. Kindergarten snapshot, grade 3 and 5 district-wide write, 6 and 8 numeracy, grade 8, 9 literacy, and of course our provincial assessments, FSA 4, 7 in numeracy and literacy, and then our grad assessments at literacy and numeracy 10 and literacy 12. We add all the data of our local district-wide assessments plus FSA to our Ed Plan Insight. So teachers, by January, usually even before Christmas break, they have all this data along with the learning update data that teachers enter during the learning update sessions. I'm happy to report our FSA 4 and literacy and numeracy, we've been on track and trending upward. While we did this year have a small dip in 2% down in literacy for our 4s, our numeracy trend went up 1%. But what's more significant, I think, for our district is that we had a huge dip between the grade 4s, who have always been fairly solid. But in literacy and numeracy 7, there was a significant drop. That drop has closed, and our grade 7s are doing well. So we're seeing the trends on district-wide to increase, but also the dip in grade 7, and I'm about to report grade 10 has also decreased.
Hey,
this is our
Director Trude, I'm just going to jump in there and
yeah.
say, we would have noticed a bit of a slide between 4 and 7 over the years, and it was somewhat of a concern. And you're mentioning that slide has shifted to a more positive trend. If you look at our results at 7 compared to the province, we're actually way out in front. And partially that is because the province has slid a little more than we have, but proportional or comparatively, we're off the chart. The gray zone that you're showing right now has the typical range, and we'd be over on the right-hand side, of course, in almost every category in grade 7. So I just wanted to do that little shout out for ourselves. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I appreciate that totally, and you'll see by the spring this kind of chart that's on your screen right now for FSA coming up. This is our grad assessments 10 numeracy and literacy. This data is always a full year behind. The data that I showed you on FSA is actually this year's data, but what I'm happy to show you is that if you look at the bottom graph, both our literacy is not only beyond the provincial average, but at the end of our local district results, and our numeracy is starting to creep up in the right direction. So you'll see we're in the middle of the range of the province and at the high end of the range of our district results. So the overall good news on our provincial data is we're trending in the right direction, and that is up, and we're happy to report that and totally attribute that to the learning and work that our teachers have done and our administrators in focusing on our learning, literacy and numeracy, but also on showing that learning through our students on our assessments. Again, our team, we have 20 teachers that score the FSA. This is their feedback. This goes back into the system. Not only do we see strengths and stretches for our students, but we connect it to not only resources, but actually ways that we can improve learning targeted toward those assessments. Then we talked about the kindergarten snapshot, and again, can't say enough about this assessment being valuable, but really just literally, as we say, it's a snapshot, but a look at all our Ks that are coming in. Like every single kid across our system gets a team to look at each of them through a variety of stations. And the really valuable part is the teacher gets to observe their kids going through that station in the month of September and gets a great perspective of their students. This is the narrative and I won't bore everyone with the details, but this is coming out through our system. So all our teachers get this feedback, and you'll see the key pieces, the resources, and the supports available to really learn and also teach and focus on our students. This is the same thing with our numeracy. And then after that, that's my fulsome report. One of the things, and I keep reminding the system, because one of the big complaints that we get at the district level is, oh, you do all these assessments, but what do you do about them? And that report shows what we do about them. We look at our students and how they're doing. We provide learning events for teachers to focus on the growth areas for our students. And so this is an example. We have Carol Fullerton here. This is such a unique event in that we actually brought in every single numeracy teacher, grade 8 secondary numeracy teacher, into the room for a full day with Learning with Carol Fullerton. And then the other thing that I want to share with the board and everyone else here is this is 50 teachers at a dinner meeting, again with Carol Fullerton, but learning about numeracy across the curriculum. So appreciate everybody's efforts and willingness to come and learn more, even on their own time. And that is my report. Thank you.
I have Trustee Kurland and then Trustee Young. Trustee Kurland.
Thank you. So, Rudy, as the, it's nice to hear that teachers are scoring the FSA. I know that in the past, the FSA had a bad reputation. You know, I don't think the TF was particularly thrilled with it, but has it gotten to the place now where it's more, the results are more widely accepted from school districts?
So, my general answer is yes. In our district, I feel 2 years ago, if you can remember, the BC Assembly of Chiefs wrote a letter to the Ministry of Education and the BCTF about the FSA, and they said, we value the FSA, we want data on our students, and we want to know how they're doing. And I feel that that and maybe other things that I don't know about have definitely, we're not getting full opposition on FSA for sure.
May I'm going to kind of jump in there.
Yeah.
There was a list of I would say, concerns locally that the MATA put forward, and I think really took those quite seriously. First of all, the administration of the process is challenging. Well, we did some work on that, and our principals really stepped into that space and made that work a little more, I think, smooth for people. Another concern was that we weren't looking at the results afterwards. And I mean, in some cases, I say that goes back onto the individual, but we really have emphasized, as Director Terpstra has been showing you, that we are not just providing people with opportunities to look at those results, encouraging them to look at those results, but summarizing them and handing them back to the schools and making sure that they're aware of trends and then really using those to shape the learning that we're doing as a school district. We've also brought in a person to teach our teachers how to use the assessments more effectively, the depths of knowledge. And those were fairly well received. And then, of course, there's all the learning that we're doing to make sure that people are very comfortable and using that information to change their practice and to address the curriculum as it's designed. So there's a lot of ways that I think that we have emphasized the possibilities around this, and including I would say the Ed Plan Insight and having this array of information that can help people really see at a glance how the kids are doing. So all that stuff helps You know, it's not just a thing that you do and then it gets sucked off into the ether. I mean, we really are trying to use it to advise our practice, inform our practice, and I think we've been much more supportive about the effort that it takes to do the thing. So I think all of that kind of helps, and yeah, absolutely. The chiefs did write that letter, and I think that carries some weight for sure.
Thank you, Dr. Jory. Trustee Young.
Yes, I was going to say a lot of what Superintendent Jory said, but probably not as well as he said it. I think the key here is we're using multiple data points, and I thank you, Mr. Terpstra, for taking the time to go through this slideshow, because we really didn't give it the time that it deserved at Ed Committee, and I take responsibility for that. The timing slipped away for me. So thank you for doing this, and I would really encourage people to take a look at that PowerPoint. There's a lot of different things that we do in this district that I have not seen in other districts. And maybe other districts have now changed their practice too. But I think we're showing some leadership around this and connecting our professional development to our to what we get back, to the feedback that we get from the assessments. So yeah, I just thank you. Just thank you.
Trustee Austin.
Yeah, thanks, Elaine. I was going to mention that too, that, you know, there's multiple sources of data coming. Sometimes the best of which is just that relationship in the classroom between teacher and student. Sometimes that, you know, are the best observations. And I think it bears mentioning again, we're all aware of it, but I don't think it can be said too often around the FSA. I'm glad to hear and see, you know, the data and how to work with it and how to get good information from it. But you know, it's also still very problematic because of the Fraser Institute and their insistence on rating schools with it. And I wish there was a way that around that the province could come up with.
Agreed, Trustee Austin, agreed. Dr. Jory.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
On mute. You're on mute. Start again.
Yeah, I'm going to start again. I'm sorry. I thought that we were going to treat that organization like Voldemort and not say the actual name in our public spaces. So just a reminder to everybody. Yeah, they that shall be not that are bean counters that shall not be named. But I have to say this. There's been almost no media presence on that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen much of anything in like 4 or 5 years, and that's a good thing because it fosters competition in the school system rather than collaboration, and it's done based on a number of falsehoods. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think it's been a number of years. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I might add, the recent gains that we're getting in these assessments across the board are actually because of relationships. And that's like teachers are working hard to create regular learning type environments and providing all the supports that students have when they rate these assessments, and administrators are creating the space for that. So it is very relational, and actually we're looking forward to and excited about the gains that we get when we target our learning as educators around it, and our students start showing their results on being better numerate and literate learners. So that's exciting growth for us in the future, I think.
Thank you very much, Mr. Terpstra. Seeing no further hands up at this point, I'll call upon our Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole Chair, Trustee Kellogg, and with the assistance of Mr. Amos, it is a 2024-2025 amended annual budget, pages 18 to 36 in your package. Trustee Kellogg. You're on mute. You're on mute.
For God's sakes, well, I was finished.
You had a good start.
Okay, recommendation that the Board of Education of School District Number 69 Qualicum approve all 3 readings of the School District Number 69 Qualicum amended annual budget bylaw for the 2024-2025 fiscal year at its regular board meeting of February 25th, 2025.
Could I have a seconder, trustees? Thank you, trustee Young. And if you recall, trustees, we need to vote unanimously to proceed then with 3 readings of the amended budget, to which I'm sure Mr. Amos will speak to some of the papers that are attached, but I'll call a vote. Seeing no questions, all those in favor? Oh, trustee Austin.
Thank you. Before we call the vote, I would like to hear Ron speak to this before this vote. It just seems to be a better place for Ron to speak to it. I know you spoke to it at our Fin and Ops, but could you please speak to it now?
Okay. Fine. By me, Mr. Amos, the budget's at your disposal.
Right. Yeah, so you've got, okay, you've got the motion on the table, and yeah, absolutely. So before you obviously is the amended budget. There's a document that's on pages 20,
18 to 36.
18, 21, yeah. And so the document, obviously, there's a formal document, and then preceding that formal document is my summaries. The summaries are in essence what's in the document, but it's a better, in my mind, it's a little bit allows me to sort of present some comments against each of the line items. And so I will briefly just speak to the summaries and point out some of the narrative that I put in there, as well as some of the how these sections within these summaries tie into the schedules that are presented in the document itself. So leading off with the revenues, you're seeing, and I know I did speak to this obviously at Finance and Ops, and bear with me as I just sort of highlight some of the observations from that committee meeting. So enrollments declined at the beginning of the year. We talked about that. If you saw my budget presentations, you'll see some of the response areas that we address with hard responses and soft responses. And so this amended budget reflects that methodology, as it were, or that narrative. So enrollment decline caused us to shuffle some things. So the enrollment decline came in at 485. I'm rounding to 485,000 in funding reduction. We did receive some supplemental funding through the labor settlement funds. And again, this was a result of additional costs that weren't covered off by the last March's announced funding. So the labor settlement funding included a 1% COLA adjustment, cost of living adjustment that wasn't in the per pupil funding yet. And likewise, they had held back the increases for the educational administrators. And so that money came in the form of labor settlement funding, which effectively was paying for additional costs that are in the budget that weren't there previously. So it's not new money. It was paying for the costs that were yet to be borne. Likewise, we made some reductions in our international program for reduced FTE and the inherent contribution to the rest of the budget. Again, bus passes and childcare fees, I've made a slight adjustment to accommodate those. And likewise with the interest rates in decline, just making a reflection against the investment income. So a net decline in our funding for about 136,243. Again, with the adjustments that we made for startup in September, some of it was new wages in place for some of the members in terms of this COLA adjustment. So you're seeing that basically distributed across all classifications, including benefits and including replacement costs. Some of the comments that I'd made earlier was us shifting, and again, President of MATA sort of spoke to this a little bit in terms of the supply budgets. We tapped into some of the contingency supply budgets in order to balance the budget, and so this is absolutely agree with Matt's statement that supply budgets are as necessary as staffing when it comes to when it comes to servicing the kids. But in this case, it was obviously recognized that the supply budgets were easier to impact than the staffing once we knew that the implications of the enrollment decline. And so we did address that through the supply dollars. We reduced some of our district funds. We reduced some of our contingent capital expenditures or local capital expenditures that were embedded in the annual budget. So we reduced them to accommodate some of the demands of the funding decline. Likewise, we embedded the last item that you're seeing on there is really reflective of the budgeted use of surplus. Normally, we try to balance the budget, but in the event of us having appropriated surpluses from the prior year, and these are funds that are embedded as surpluses to the district, but have targeted needs. And so two things were identified in prior years. The roading software was one, where there was an amount set aside out of our operating reserve to purchase over the next 2 years to purchase roading software. And likewise, Indigenous Ed funding comes with a caveat that it has to be spent. And if it doesn't get spent in that year, it gets rolled forward and accumulated over the course of time. So effectively, that's the additional. So there's $95,000 remaining for the software to pay for that. That gets used up this year. And likewise, about $105,000 in the Indigenous Education Department to be used this year. And so that's embedded against operating surpluses that were identified on the financial statements. The next sheet is, again, just a quick synopsis of a different representation of the operating funds and how the expenditures are accumulated. And then and again, those are all being reported in Schedule 2 of the document itself. And lastly, just want to point out the special purpose fund, recognizing that the board is the budget is made up of 3 funds: operating fund, special purpose fund, and capital funds. And so this last section on here is represented in the Schedule 3 of the document. And again, it just expresses the special purpose funds that the board is given through various special purpose grants from the ministry effectively. So those 3 numbers, operating fund, capital fund, and special purpose funds, are the numbers that gets rolled up to the bylaw that's being expressed by Trustee Carroll when she reads the bylaw itself. And again, just to point your finger at it, it's statement 2 in the financial statements, in the budget document, that's basically says $60,394,184 is coming from operating, 9.1 is coming from special purpose expenditures, and capital funds of 3.7. That rolls up to the 373,299,571 that Trustee Kellogg is acknowledging in the motion itself. And that's it. I'll hand it back.
Are there any questions, trustees, at this point before we call for the motion to have all 3 readings this evening? Trustee Young.
Yeah, I've just got a really dumb question. What happens if we decide that we're not going to do all 3 readings? Because I think this needs to be submitted to the province, doesn't it?
We'll be meeting in about 3 days to do it again.
Like we did last year. Trustee Austin.
I just wanted to say thanks, Ron. And I know there were some really good questions and answers, by the way, at the Fin and Ops meeting when we went through this, probably in a little more detail than we did tonight. But I do always appreciate having it come back and re-looking at it, hearing you speak to it again, because sometimes it's a lot of information at the one meeting and it gives me a chance to walk away and think about it. And so when you come back and bring it again, I think it's a good process. Thanks.
Okay, seeing no further hands, the motion is moved and seconded to have all 3 readings this evening. I'll call a question. All those in favor? And Mr. Kurland, where are you? Thank you very much. Carried. Okay, although it seems a bit pedantic, Trustee Kellogg, you do have to read these 3 times, and I will ask you to do so on the first reading. Go for it.
Let me just turn my mic on first. Okay, that the Board of Education of School District number 69, Qualicum, give first reading to adopt the school district number 69 Qualicum amended annual budget bylaw in the amount of $73,299,571 for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
So moved by trustee Kellogg, seconded please. Trustee Kurland, I think you're seconding. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And second reading, trustee Kellogg.
That the Board of Education of School District number 69 Qualicum gives second reading to the adoption of School District number 69 Qualicum's amended annual budget bylaw in the amount of $73,299,571 for the 2024-2025 fiscal.
Moved by trustee Kellogg, seconder please. Thank you, trustee Kurland. All those in favor? Carried. And third and final reading, trustee Kellogg.
That the Board of Education of School District number 69 Qualicum give third and final reading to adopt the School District number 69 Qualicum amended annual budget bylaw in the amount of $73,299,571 for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
And a seconder, please. Thank you, trustee Kurland. All those in favor? Great. The amended budget bylaw can now go forward to the ministry. You have also other business from your Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole, a meeting regarding a letter to the town of Qualicum Beach. Trustee Kellogg.
Recommendation that the Board of Education of School District number 69 Qualicum write a letter to the town of Qualicum Beach Council expressing the board's hope to collaborate with the town on both the basketball courts as well as other safety projects being considered around Qualicum Secondary School in the Village Way area.
That's moved by trustee Kellogg. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, trustee Young. Is there any discussion or questions, trustees? Trustee Young.
Yeah, I just want to use this as a bit of an example. This came up for two reasons. One, because I was able to attend part of, I had two PAC meetings at the same time, but I was able to attend part of a Qualicum Secondary School PAC meeting and got a really nice presentation from Mr. Monroe on the all-weather courts. And then that came up later at Qualicum Council, Town Council meeting, and I watched those as well. And the other person who was there was one of the counselors, Ann Skipsey. And so part of this is as a result of us being able and willing to go to PAC meetings, and part of it is some of our counselors attend PAC meetings too. So it's always interesting, and also that I tend to watch that Qualicum Council as well. So just a little bit of background on that, because I know that sometimes we don't give much background, so just doing it.
Thank you, trustee Young. Are there any comments, trustees? I think we very much appreciate any support that the town of Qualicum can offer, because this is also stuff and places that families go and kids can play in outside of school hours, summers, breaks, things like that. So it's, I think, a good community asset to have upgraded. Seeing no further questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. And now on.
Sorry, Chair. Do you mind if I give a quick commercial break for PSA budget? Again, I just wanted to acknowledge that we're in the middle of budget, and I'm kind of sort of putting the word out there that the survey is open for the budget process. Now that we've closed the amended budget process, the annual budget for 25-26 carries on. We've talked a little bit about that. And so I just encourage folks to go to our website and see some of the information that's there. The video is the recording of the budget is on there, as well as the survey. And really this public service announcement is about getting folks out to do the survey that's online. That's about it. And
yeah, and we'll keep it open till probably usually mid-April,
correct.
so that folks can do it before spring break, during spring break, and after spring break, before we jump into the next phase of preparing the budget. So thank you for the PSA. Always good to have a PSA. Okay, Policy Committee of the Whole, and that's my, I chair this committee. So first off, we will be addressing 3 administrative procedures, and as a reminder to folks, administrative procedures are brought to the board for information only. We do not do 3 readings because these are under the purview of the superintendent and operationalizing the policy statements that we make to how they hit the ground. This document, the first one, our Qualicum School District Secondary Athletic Handbook, has come twice now to the policy committee with some amendments because of some feedback and things like that. But at this time, and you'll see in your package, page 40 to 58, the reference document is now complete to be added to Board Policy 506, Conduct of Coaches. Any further comments, trustees? I think it's all been well chatted out at the policy committee. Administrative procedure to Board Policy 617, selection and assignment of exempt leadership staff. There are some small amendments being done here. There is no change in the policy itself, but to the administrative procedure for your attention, which was reviewed. And then finally, of the administrative procedure for Board Policy 703, student fees and subsidies, as you'll see from the meeting notes. This administrative procedure will go ahead, but the policy committee will take another look at the Board Policy Statement 703, student fees and subsidies, to make some clarifying remarks regarding that verbiage and that, but the administrative procedure we felt could go forward at this time. Next would be Board Policy 600, personnel, and I would move that the Board of Education Schools 69 Qualicum approve first reading to adopt the revisions to Board Policy 600, personnel. This is pages 68, 69 in your package. Could I have a seconder, please? Seconded, Trustee Young. Any comments, trustees, at this point? Trustee Young.
Trying to be educative here. So when we pass something in first reading, that allows it to go out in public. So correct. If there are folks here from our partner groups or other folks who want to come to the policy committee meeting and discuss this particular policy, then
this is your opportunity. This
is the opportunity. Second reading is where we really kind of dig down and we kind of look more carefully at the different policies and really try and do some wordsmithing and modernizing. And then our final reading is just kind of, okay, are we sure we got it right? So that's why we do the 3 readings. And I really encourage people to take a look at these policies that are in first reading and get the word out.
Thank you very much, Trustee Young. And folks will notice there's the changes to the context statement, and folks can have a look at that. So seconded by Trustee Young. Seeing no questions, all those in favor? Trustee Austin, I'm hoping you're there, or anyway, it's carried. Board Policy 601, Employee Conflict of Interest. At the Board of Education, School District 69 Qualicum accept the recommendation of the Policy Committee of the Whole that the following board policy has been reviewed and confirmed as written. There were no comments at our meeting, so this is going forward as presented. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Trustee Kellogg. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Board Policy 602, exempt staff, supplementary employment benefits, that the Board of Education, School District 69 approve first reading to adopt the revisions to Board Policy 602, exempt staff, supplementary employment benefits. This is page 73, 74 in your package. Could I ask for a seconder, please? Thank you, Trustee Young. Any comments, trustees? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Board Bylaw 3, that the Board of Education, School District 69 approves second reading to adopt the revisions to Board Bylaw 3 meetings of the Board of Education, and that has been a very in-depth conversation. And I hope we've landed a place that all of us can work with. Could I have a seconder, please? This is only second reading, so there is one more chance. Thank you, Trustee Kurland. Any questions, trustees? Trustee Austin.
Thank you. I really appreciate the addition of that second line and that number 4 at our policy committee. I may have a suggestion for another word other than exigent. I had to look it up.
It's a new one for you. It's a new one I had to ask too. There you go. Okay, and another comment from the meeting was a consideration of student voice, and there still is work being done by the superintendent to look at how student voice can be more embedded in our board meeting on a regular basis. So I'll call a question. All those in favor at second reading? Thank you. Board 500, communicating student learning. The Board of Education, School District 69 approves second reading to adopt the revisions of Board Policy 500, communicating student learning. Can I have a seconder, please, trustees? Thank you, Trustee Kellogg. Any comments, trustees? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Board Policy 502, field trips. That the Board of Education, School District 69 Qualicum approves second reading to adopt the revisions to Board Policy field experiences trips. My apologies. Seconder, please. Thank you, Trustee Young. Any comments, trustees? Seeing no hands, all those in favor? Carried. Board Policy 504, copyright and intellectual property, that the Board of Education, School District 9 approves second reading to adopt the revisions to Board Policy 504, copyright and intellectual property. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Trustee Kellogg. Any questions, trustees? Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And Board Policy 507, programs of choice and specialty academies, that the Board of Education, School District 9 Qualicum approve second reading to adopt the revisions to Board Policy 507, programs of choice and specialty academies. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Trustee Young. Seeing no hands for questions, all those in favor? Oh, sorry, Trustee Austin. No, or you're yes?
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep up with you here because I don't. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think I see. I'm just confirming. No, I do see it. Okay, no, that's okay. The reference to policy 703.
Policy. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Tried to catch that. Yep. Then I'll call a question. All those in favor? Carried. And now finally, Board Policy 606, respectful workplace, that the Board of Education, School District 9 approve second reading to adopt the revisions to Board Policy 606, respectful workplace. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Trustee Kellogg. All those in favor? Thank you very much, Carrie. Somebody needs to put their mic off. Somebody might want to put their mic off.
I think the mic's off.
Okay, we had over chatter from somebody. Education Committee of the Whole, Trustee Young, pages 104 to 112 of your package this evening.
Right,
Over to
and
you.
Thank you.
And
I
Ms.
just wanted
Wilson.
to highlight a few things in the report. I try to get as much as I possibly can in the report, including the discussions that happen at the meeting. We had a really nice presentation from the students at PASS, and it's Pacific Alternative Secondary School. Is that what it stands? Parksville Alternative Secondary School. There you go. Okay. I want to make sure that we get those words defined. Anyway, that was really great. The career education stuff is fabulous. And all of these presentations, we're going to try and get up on the website and share them with people, because some of them are just fabulous. And of course, we can't repeat the meeting. Just wanted to highlight the fact that our Pete the Cat, which I think we're probably the only district that does Pete the Cat, the First Steps to School fair is happening on April 17th. And that's for our little guys who are taking their first steps to school. And then the grade 7 health and wellness conference. And I think we're probably one of the only groups that does that as well on May the 8th. And then I have the recommendations, which I will move that and I'm going to ask Associate Superintendent Wilson to do most of the presentation on this. I will move that the Board of Education of School District 69 Qualicum approve the 3-year, that's 2025 to 2028, local school calendar as presented.
Could I have a seconder, trustees? Thank you, Trustee Kellogg. Ms. Wilson, to elaborate.
Just speaking on the 3-year local school calendar, and then I'll speak separately to the False Bay calendar once that motion comes up. Just want to acknowledge and thank the work that our system did. I truly feel that it was a collaborative, consultative process to develop this 3-year calendar. We started back in November, meeting with MATA President. We had conversations with MATA Pro-D committee. It went out to staff committees at each of our sites. It went to a joint district professional development committee. It went to SEAC. It had a survey that was done over the winter break. It's been to the education committee twice. It came back to SEAC again, and it's been commented on and talked about at the board meeting a couple of times. So the consultation process itself for our district 3-year calendar, I think truly was as much involvement. It had tweaks, it had things that were changed. The survey from parents talked, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, help us understand what professional learning days are. And so that's work that we're going to do as a group, as principals and vice principals, as well as our teachers. Our superintendents talked about doing a joint letter going out to our system to explain what professional development and what learning happens on those days. Parents asked for anything that was a non-instructional day to be connected to a weekend or wherever possible, and that's what we honored and that's what we did. There was also questions coming out, what if we want to change anything in the 3rd year? Let's say that the MATA Professional Development Committee want to bring in a guest speaker and they can't come on a particular day. We can always move into a consultation process again, a 30-day process, not that many, as much as I've just outlined in terms of this particular process, to make that small adjustment if we needed to do that. So I want to again thank the people that contributed to the 3-year calendar, and if there's any questions in terms of what's presented, I can answer them.
Any questions, trustees? This is quite an in-depth process. Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. And now the 3-year False Bay School altered calendar. And I'd note for folks, it's page 119. It kind of runs ahead like a blur, but the key when you look at pages 119 to 124 is it says alternate Friday. That way you'll
Right.
know it's not the local calendar, it's the False Bay calendar. So, Trustee Young.
Yes.
motion.
I will move that the Board of Education of School District number 69 Qualicum approve the 3-year 2025 to 2028 False Bay School altered calendar as presented.
Could I
And
have
just
first,
this
seconder,
is, yeah.
seconder first? Thank you very much, Trustee Kellogg. Further comments, Trustee Young?
Yeah, False Bay is always a little bit different, and I'm going to allow Associate Superintendent Wilson. I hope you've got that great process thing that you showed us at the meeting, because we did the process and then we did more of the process. So over to you.
I did. And so I want to echo everything that I said for the 3-year calendar occurred for the False Bay calendar, with the exception they had a separate survey or a survey that had additional questions. For some time now, it has been a curiosity around going to a 4-day week. We've had an historical altered Friday or alternate Fridays that's ranged from every fortnight to once a week to 8 a year. Alternate Fridays have really been fluid and flexible for False Bay based on some information that we've got back from False Bay community. So we did that again, and I want to share my screen and share with you some of the information that we're working with for the False Bay calendar and why the recommendation stands before you. So on the survey itself, we had respondents, and to start the survey results, it seemed like more people did not want to have a 4-day week. They wanted to have alternate Fridays and not a 4-day week. As we extended the survey, and there was an ask to see if we could extend it, and we did extend it for an additional 2 weeks, the survey results came in 14 to 15. 14 wanting a 4-day week and 15 did not. That's too close to just say the survey said, and we're going to move on. So we felt it was really important to dig a little bit deeper. So we did that. This was the comments that, whoops, let me just go back a second. These were the comments that came in from the survey results. Those are the authentic comments that came in from the people that responded. And when I looked at that, I went, oh my goodness, how are we going to be able to look at what that data actually tells us? And it was actually Karen and I that were chatting in my office, and she said, why not put it into ChatGPT? So I did. And this is what ChatGPT told us. So I just cut and pasted those comments as they were written. And I asked it to please summarize the survey results. And so it came up with these different categories. It came up with key concerns against a 4-day week. And the 4 areas were childcare issues, longer days, academic struggles, and inconsistent schedules. And so they talked about no daycare options on remote islands. They talked about working parents, and we got comments that said, I work 5 days a week and it's really hard to find daycare. Some concerns about the longer school day for sure. And then the academics, and there was a talk about children that have got academic struggles, having that longer day was even harder for them. And then the inconsistent schedule, they talked about wanting to reinstate the 5-day alternate Fridays. Those that supported a 4-day week. The 4 categories that ChatGPT took from the data that came out from the surveys said it provides a work-life balance, it's cost-saving, it improves quality of life, and it's flexible for appointments. So I did go into the data that we had around our attendance for our staff, as well as our attendance for our students. There's currently 24 students that attend False Bay. And what I noticed from the data that we have was that students miss school quite often over on False Bay compared to some of our schools over on this side. And our staff take time when they need to take time for medical appointments, and that's part of what the contractual agreements are, that they can take time off for medical appointments and those things. So, it wasn't over any particular days or dates that they took. It was Mondays through Fridays. It wasn't always on a Friday that people were off, or it wasn't always on a Monday. It varied throughout the week. There were some high absent days. There was a high absent day just before the winter break last year. So there's some dates that seem to be higher absences than others. There was some high absences in January, and that might have been the flu cold season. The other thing that ChatGPT told us is that these are some of the other suggestions that the survey results said. They wanted to reinstate the alternate Fridays to address appointment needs and provide some flexibility, but they also wanted to look at what the impact of a 4-day week was. When the survey was still open, that was a request that was coming in mid-survey. So we did that work and sent a separate email to all the families around the impact of a 4-day week on the instructional minutes, knowing that we have to provide a certain number of instructional minutes to students. It doesn't matter how many days in session we are, there's a certain number of minutes that we have to provide. So when I started looking at all this, I could go online and find any source of research that would tell me anything I wanted to support. It was really mixed. There was some sites that said there's no impact on student achievement. There's other sites that said it was impactful on student achievement. But when I looked at the 4 categories around for or against a 4-day week, it seemed like it became the adult needs versus the student needs. And the ones for a 4-day week seem to be more around adult cost saving, time at home versus what the student needs were. That's just an observation. But then I looked at the length of the day. And so if we had a 4-day week, the instructional hours on those 4-day weeks would be 6 hours and 12 minutes. And so assuming that the school starts at 9 o'clock, whether we're a 4-day week or an alternate Friday, assuming we have a 20-minute recess and assuming we have a 40-minute lunch, and those might be shorter than that, but I wanted to just look at what that would look like. On a 4-day week, school would end at 4:12. On an alternate Friday, and you'll see the proposal talks about 8 alternate Fridays throughout the year, school ends at 3:13. It doesn't include the transportation time, so it doesn't include students hopping on the bus, coming in the morning and getting off and going home on the bus in the afternoon. And some kiddos are on the bus 30 to 40 minutes on the other side of the island by the time they've done their route. So that's a long day for students. So what we heard from the survey is that people want to look at one Friday not in session each month. The comments asked for a consistent Friday. And so the recommendation in the calendar, what you see in the calendar, is that we've looked for the 3rd Friday of each month, and that would mean 8 altered Fridays throughout the course of the years. For the year coming up, the 3rd one, there's one alternate Friday that's part of March break, and there's one alternate Friday that's part of the May long weekend, which includes a professional development day, then a conferencing adjustment day, then the weekend, and then the May stat. So it's a 5-day week that's there. So that's my report to the board for you to make a decision on the recommendation that was presented to all the committees and the work that was done in a very collaborative way.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. The motion is on the floor. Trustee Austin.
I want to thank everybody for the amount of work that went into this. It seemed very thoughtful and really responsive. So I really want to thank people for that. I'm not going to ask for an amendment, but I'm just wondering if it could be considered as something that maybe we do, is to do a check-in with False Bay. It's sort of awkward because of the timing, and I know if it has to go into a full consultation, it needs the 90 days, or if it's a small adjustment, it's 30 days. But I'm just wondering if there, at some point in time next year, we can do a quick check-in and say, how is that working for you? Because the motion is for 3 years, and I do know that that's it can still change. It's not set in stone that it's for 3 years, but I'd sort of like it understood that, especially with False Bay, that we do a check-in, go, how's it going? Do we need to do a full consultation and change this? Or is there some tweaking we can do? I'm just wondering if we can just do that as an understanding. Thanks.
I think so. I think we're always open to hearing how the process has gone and how it's landing on the ground for families. Trustee Kurland.
So the 3rd Friday of the month is going to be the spare day, right?
Yep.
So how does that link up with the fact that there's always a Monday every month that is also off for various holidays? I mean, could they be made to tie up with that so you'd have a 4-day weekend, or is it just going to be random?
Through the chair, The ask was to always have the same Friday off, so you're not wondering which Friday am I on, whether
Yeah.
it's connected to a long weekend or not. That was the ask, to have the same one. The SEAC group looked at this intensely as well, and we talked about the consistency. So you always know which Friday it's going to be off, and you're not wondering whether it's this one or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
It might fall right up to a
Yeah.
holiday. Yep. Seeing no further hands, I'll call a question. All those in favor? And I know Trustee Kellogg is voting in favor, but she's just had to step aside to take care of some matters. So the 3-year altered calendar for False Bay is carried. Thank you very much. And do you have any further comments, Trustee Young, on your Education Committee report? Okay. No reports from representative or outside organization. We do have a trustee item, and Trustee Young would like to speak on social justice, would be the global heading of this. And to you, I turn the mic over to Trustee Young.
Okay, thank you very much, Board Chair Flynn. I'm going to start with a very short story, and that is that during the last election campaign, we got a lot of emails about something called SOGI, sexual orientation and gender identity. And I remember talking to a friend, and this person happened to be a heterosexual friend, and she said, "Why is it that you guys always have to come out and I never do?" And the answer is, people make assumptions. And so I don't know what assumptions were made at the last board meeting, but I need to tell you that those assumptions were hurtful to me personally. I've been a lesbian since somewhere in the 70s. I came out as kind of bisexual in high school. And I have been a social justice advocate for about 50 odd years. I'm also an educator, and I'm a person who believes that we all have lived experience, and lived experiences are very, very important. Our stories are very important. Everyone that I work with on this board has their own lived experience, and I see them all as allies in social justice. Social justice is about two things. It's about inclusionary practice, which we totally believe in, and it also takes courage. It takes courage to make a decision to come out like I'm doing tonight. It could impact me being able to run as a trustee again and be elected. I don't know. My information is out there with everybody else's. It could end up in death threats. I've had those before in my life. But this is so important that I have to say something. Public education means that we look after all of our children. And whether they have learning disabilities, have some kind of designation or not, we take them all in, and we do our very best to support them. So I have a couple of other things to say. First of all, I see that we have been really open as a board, and I support our board being open. I have advocated for trustees to be at PAC meetings. I've advocated for us to be at DPAC meetings. We are open and collaborative, and that's how we want to be. We are also process driven, and bylaws, policies, administrative procedures are only part of our process. Flags are not about policy. Inclusion is about policy. Flags are a practice. Wearing an orange shirt as I do, often, because it says every child matters, is a practice. And so we need to use proper process. If people want to be writing policy, they should be looking at bylaw 7 that tells them how to write policy. I want to be collaborative. I want to be open. I want to be a good educator. So I am offering tonight for anybody who wants to know anything about my lived experience, about my social justice experience, about my experience as a school trustee. If you're thinking of running for school trustee, walk with me, talk with me. I am more than happy to talk and to spend, as Board Chair Flynn knows, I could talk about education 24 hours a day. I talk about it until people's eyes glaze over. So if you have a question, ask me. That's all I'm asking. And please, to Matt's comments tonight, we need to be looking at how to effectively fund inclusionary practice. So we need to collaborate on that. We need to work very hard to advocate so that all of our students, every single one, can reach their potential, as we've stated in our value statements. And that is me for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Young. Appreciate your sharing and your lived experience. I do know is very profound, and I think we can all take a step towards social justice in many, many paths as we go forward in our work here as trustees, but also as our senior staff and educators, support staff, and everyone in our district, I think, holds high regard to the notion of social justice and inclusion in all aspects of their activities and day-to-day work. So I appreciate your passion and sharing with everybody. Thank you. We can now move into public question period. Is there any questions from the public? Please raise your hand because I can't see everybody. Matt, President of MATA. Mr. Wood.
Thank you. I just want to, if I can just say something that with our Pro D that is happening next Friday, Misha Oak is our keynote speaker, and I believe a bunch of his conversation will be talking about allyship and what that actually looks like, and so that I think that's kind of powerful because in conversations that I have with a lot of people, I don't think there is a misunderstanding of what allyship is, and so I think that will inform folks. I do want to make a quick statement that states that the BCTF is still opposed to FSAs. I'm just going to make that as a statement, okay? So I just need to make that clear out there. And finally, the question that I'm coming to, though, is with the improvements in the FSA results that were reported tonight, and I kind of heard, but I'm not sure if I heard it correctly. I'm just wondering what are factors or changes that have occurred in the last couple of years that you can say, or someone can tell me, that contribute to this improvement? Are there programs or something that's happened in the last couple of years that's contributed or attributed to this improvement that we've seen?
Well, I'll turn this over to Superintendent Jory and Director of Instruction, Mr. Terps, but I would think some of the professional development work for numeracy, especially with Carol Fullerton, is key, along with a lot of other strategies. But this is an educator type question.
Pop quiz right out of, I thought we were done. Well, we're done. President Woods.
I can't let you off that easy every time.
I was thinking about halfway through this meeting that you've done so well. Like, well, okay, all right, fine. I'll bite though. This is a district, I think, first of all, that has valued literacy for a long time. And if you look at our results that we have, starting with the fact that our kids come in somewhat vulnerable, more vulnerable than average. And yet we've always done reasonably well, or even quite well, on our grade 4 assessments. And I think it really speaks to how our teachers know how to teach reading. I've felt that the data pointed to that, and all of the anecdotal information, the culture spoke to that all along. And then it's a district that has always valued professional learning, and there's always been some kind of really, I think, pertinent movement and attention to this that's been going on for years and years and years. And I think that when we are in conversations with teachers that are inbound, they want to come to our district. That's the reputation that we have, and I think that holds up. I think where the growth has come from first is a improvement to fidelity to the experience, meaning that if you have more people taking it more seriously and saying, okay, we're going to go in there and better put our best foot forward, that we're our kids are comfortable, they're a little more ready to do that experience, and that we're all doing it as opposed to encouraging kids to sit out, I think you end up with much better results. You end up with higher results, but I also think you end up with more accurate results. You get a better representation of what kids can actually do, and it shows much more, I think, what our teachers were able to do with those students. The next level, I think, is the additional information that we've been able to provide as a system. So you look at EdPlan Insight, you look at the different assessments that we've added to kind of plug in those spaces between the FSAs, and to use the classroom assessments, the district assessments, and the provincial assessments as triangulation tools for each other, right? And I would have always said this about FSA. It's a great triangulation tool. You can use it to guide your practice, but ultimately we want it to just be more of a guidepost to our district and our classroom assessments. And I think we're getting to that point. But you have this information. You can have a teacher look at their heat map and then get really specific about the skills that they want to focus on in their classroom in very real time, when you have all that information, and much of it being current information. And that can guide their practices, the way that they get to the strengths of their class and where the gaps are in their classroom. I think that has made a shift. And then, of course, as has been mentioned already, when you recognize through those assessments and all of the information that you're gathering and look at it holistically, you recognize where the learning needs to be, professional learning needs to be, then you can address that. And that's always been an intention of using this assessment better, and then building all these other pieces in there and using them together, is to make sure that we are getting the learning to our staff that they need so they can do their very best work. And I actually think we're just getting started. Moving ahead of of the province is one thing. I don't think we've maxed out yet. I actually think that the learning that we're doing is going to take us even farther, and that we're going to see some results, especially in some, within some cohorts that might have a little more depth to them. You're going to see some results that really pop. And so I'm excited about it. I'll tell you, when I see the grad assessments, which is a place we've struggled, when I see them coming around and I hear the anecdotal stories about how well the kids are doing and how those sessions have been really positive, and the kids are staying in there and really working their way through the problems in the way that they were intended to be addressed, I just get really excited about that. So that's kind of a broad answer. I think we started with some real strengths, but I think the additional information and the additional learning that we've been able to kind of target as a result has made us take a big step forward.
Thank you.
Trustee Young?
Yeah, I just want to echo what you're saying, Superintendent Jory, but also talk a little bit about the other end of it, and that's the early years. And my background's in high school, but somehow I'm just entranced by early years right now. And our EDI, or early development index results have not been that good. We show quite a bit of vulnerability in this area. And I think the work that kindergarten
Snapshot.
screening is doing. It's fabulous to get that information early so that you're doing prevention rather than, trying to cure something, 4 or 5 years down the road. So I just want to do a big shout out to our early years team, and maybe Associate Superintendent Wilson. I'm afraid I won't name all the right people. So over to you if you want to expand on who exactly that is.
Through the chair, I mean, this was something that we started several years ago, and it truly was a team. From its conception to its implementation, our speech and language pathologists, our teachers, our occupational therapists, our early years, our teaching and learning team, it truly was a team that did this to look, and we call it a snapshot. Otherwise, our speech and language pathologists will give me heck that it is purely a snapshot to just take a quick look, see, and who do we need to go back around to make sure we're providing their support. So it's evolved over the years through lots of different team members. But thank you for that acknowledgement. It's appreciated.
Thank you, Trustee Young. Are there any other comments or questions this evening before we wrap up? Seeing no hands, could I ask for a motion to adjourn, please?
I don't think we can adjourn because Carol's not here.
Oh,
yep.
okay.
So
I'll
someone's
do it.
gonna
I
have to
move.
step up.
Somebody
Go
will do it.
bold. Go
I'll do
big.
it.
Trustee Young, thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening, everyone.